Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Always Right. My name is Chris. Here we have Terry, as usual. We're having a fun day today because a lot of stuff is kind of breaking. Some stuff that's serious, some stuff that's hilarious, and we're going to talk through it all today. Today is actually Super Tuesday, the day we're recording it.
Yay!
Yes,
And just to be clear, Chris, for our people who are not politically literate,
uh-huh.
Super Tuesday is not a superhero. That is the day when the most primaries happen. I just want to clear that up
Oh,
for.
thank you. I thought this was a Marvel comic event, and
Oh
that's what I thought.
yeah,
I had a whole thing planned coming into it,
yeah.
and
No,
it,
Nixon.
and I'm totally
Exactly.
wrong. So I guess I'm not
Although
always right.
Super Tuesday would be a great superhero, wouldn't he?
So next time we speak, we'll probably have some updates. I mean, it's going to be
Yeah.
inevitable. Obviously, we know which way this primary is going. We'll have more concrete
hmm
updates next time we speak. But MAGA. Um,
hmm
okay, so it's Super Tuesday, and more news from the election world. The Supreme Court just ruled 9-0.
So
9-0, and I knew this was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen.
yeah.
On the Colorado ballot case, they've ruled
hmm
that Trump must be able to remain on the Colorado primary ballot, and really that no state can subvert democracy. That's really what it's about. States wanting.
I I got to tell you, Chris, I argued, like, I got into some heavy duty arguments on TikTok with people about this, and they were like, wait till you see what the Supreme Court says. And I want to go back and find those conversations and be like, I saw what they said, MFR. Guess what? Ugh.
Because here's the thing, we're not talking about a skin of your teeth 5-4. This is a 9-0 decision, and there were some nuances in the concurring opinions, but the conclusion was all the same. You had
Yeah.
Ketanji Brown Jackson, Sotomayor, and Kagan all ruling in the same direction as the conservatives, because what it really comes down to is this whole broader argument about who is subverting democracy, who's a threat to democracy. And I've been long saying, and so have a lot of other commentators out there, the party that's saying we won't allow you, the voter, to even
Yeah.
participate in democracy,
Is
that's the threat to democracy.
That's what amazes me. And so I don't know if you saw, I should have pulled the clip, but there are, and I've seen articles, and there's a guy on CNN. They are now saying the Supreme Court is corrupt and it needs to be disbanded.
Yes, I saw the guy. He said, yeah, the wording was dissolved. The Supreme Court must
Dissolved.
be dissolved.
Yeah.
What?
Because now it's corrupt because it didn't do what you wanted.
Yeah, and I'm seeing all these
And
people say that it's partisan. So I'm saying, so is Ketanji Brown Jackson a partisan shill for Trump now? Is
yes,
that the argument? That
yes,
Sotomayor is a
he doesn't
partisan?
even support the Constitution. Yes, I mean, this is astounding to me that look, I when the Supreme Court leaned liberal, which when I was growing up, that shift happened with Reagan. It started to go more conservative, and
Yeah.
then it was kind of mid, and then now it's back. But again, we've gone over the stats and showed this Supreme Court actually agrees more than the previous Supreme Court.
Yep.
And I did not hear liberals yelling and screaming about either the court should be disbanded then.
Well,
And I've never heard a conservative say the court. This is what astounds me. And me being 3 months older than you and 30 years older than everybody else is in all my years I have not heard conservative commentators or conservative voters say whenever they're unhappy with a decision, we need to disband the court.
well,
The court is
it's
corrupt. We need to provide oversight to the court. I've never heard, no matter how, even with Roe v. Wade, and I'm not saying nobody, I've never heard anyone call for that. But now that this has happened, Democrats and liberals are out in full force wanting the court disbanded and want it to be overseen by
Well,
Congress.
here's the thing, Terry. It's a trend of it's you lambast the legal system and call it illegitimate when it doesn't go your way. The thing that jumps into my head, even though this isn't related to Trump or the Supreme Court, but during the Derek Chauvin trial, when Derek Chauvin was convicted of I believe it was second-degree murder, and liberals were happy about it because they thought he was, he's a predator killer of black people. They said, wow, this is proof that the justice system is fair and it works because we got the outcome we wanted, even though that whole summer they said the justice system is corrupt and racist, and we're burning down cities over it. And then
Well,
all of a sudden, we have to praise the justice system, and say it's working how it's supposed to.
Well, and it didn't, because now it's come out, if you watch a documentary and you go back and read the autopsy, that he didn't kill, that Floyd died of an overdose. He died of a fentanyl overdose. And this was his second fentanyl overdose.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I'm just saying the whiplash of their opinion about the justice system was just so hilarious. We're burning down cities and burning down businesses and destroying things,
which is not an insurrection, apparently.
Right. Because the justice system is so racist and unfair, and then whiplash. Yes. They get the outcome they want. We love the justice system. It works just how it's supposed to. It's just unbelievable. So
because it's not about the law. Exactly. It's about what I want. It's children about what. And I have to throw in, SCOTUS had the other decision where they said that they had that additional charge for Trump and the people from January 6th, and the Supreme Court said, no, I don't think so. Or was it? No, it was the federal court. I think
so, yeah.
Yeah, said, so it'll go to the Supreme Court, but the federal courts came back and said, so this is a sad day for liberals. I know they're very upset, but I have been smiling all day.
And I will say, even with the 6-3 majority and, the 3 Trump appointees, this is not a Trump loyalist court. Even so, they've ruled against Trump time after time.
And Republicans. And I mean, they've gone to battle over the redistricting in different states.
Yep.
So this is, I feel like that we have a good Supreme Court when both sides are unhappy part of the time.
Yeah, because that's going to be the nature of life. I mean, even just beyond legal, that's the nature of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nobody. Yes. The only time where one interest gets their way all the time is a monarchy. That's the only time That's the only time that any one person can be happy 100% of the time is in a dictatorship or a monarchy. Otherwise, there's going to be a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B, no matter what. So I think we're in a good place. I think the right has gotten some good cultural victories and social victories on free speech with the graphic design, the web design case. On affirmative action, kind of stripping back at kind of the Marxism that's infecting our higher education. So we've made some good wins, but then beyond those, and those are the ones that make headlines, let's face it, and creates this narrative that the court is this right way. I think Biden called it a rogue court after after the affirmative action. It was a rogue court, whatever that means.
A radical and rogue court. They didn't do what I wanted. So,
well, I guess if you're the Biden administration that's used to targeting people by their religion, by using the Department of Justice and censoring people and invading their privacy, I guess if that's what you're used to, I guess if you do have a section of the government not doing exactly what you want them to, I guess to him that does feel like a rogue court.
Yeah. I feel like that people have forgotten what a democracy, a representative republic is, because I'm astounded that there's this, so the Convention of States, which I love and I'm excited about. So there's the whole, this is a threat to democracy. Letting citizens vote for the laws they want is a threat to democracy. Oh, you can't vote for Trump. It's a threat to democracy. Letting me vote for the candidate I want is now a threat to democracy.
Well, I heard...
Oh, the Supreme Court that rules on the law. Oh, that's a threat. I don't think they know what democracy is.
Well, it was Michael Knowles, your best friend, your new best friend.
Michael Knowles is my best friend now. I've met for all of 2 minutes at CPAC. He and I are tight. We're like this. We're best. So I'm waiting for my dinner invitation.
So it was Knowles who actually said it on his show. It was either today or yesterday. It was about the SCOTUS decision. He said, "Isn't it crazy?" I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but what he essentially said was, "It's crazy how people participating in democracy is a threat to democracy now."
Yes,
that's what it is. Whoa, threat of the biggest threat to democracy is people participating in democracy.
Yeah, it's people voting and participating in democracy. Oh my God! Oh! And that's what's funny to me. I'm like, so anytime the citizens are involved, which is democracy, it's a threat to democracy.
Exactly.
And so now, the argument is, I've already heard this, is that if Trump gets elected, so based on the 14th Amendment, can the Congress toss him out of office? So that depends on whether, they decide he's an insurrection. So this is where the rubber hits the road, because if the Democrats take Congress, I think they're going to try, and they may succeed. And then we don't know who would be president. I would love for it to be Tulsi Gabbard or Tim Scott or any of those guys. Or if the Republicans win Congress, it won't happen. And then it comes down to what happens in the midterm election if things change, because
Right.
he'll have already been seated. So I think I think Congress is going to become a real battleground right now.
Yep.
Because that's their last chance. They can try to impeach him, but we all know impeachment doesn't go anywhere. So that's going to be their last chance, and since California has kept its seats by bringing in immigrants and skewing the census, we've got a bigger battle.
Well,
So
here's the thing. Even if Democrats can retake the House and have a narrow majority, I'm not even sure you're going to get every Democrat to oust a sitting president who's already won. I just think you'll get a lot of them, but there's going to be, do they want another January 6th? I mean,
there's going to be Democrats where Trump won the district, right? Or he won the state heavily, or he won the district, right? So there's going to, and Congress represents the people. So, if Trump took the district, but you've been there for 10 years because we haven't put term limits in yet, then, I don't know. So you're right. Unseating a sitting president that was duly elected, I think what's going to play into it is if Trump got the majority number of votes, not just won the Electoral College, is going to make a difference.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to go, well, it's not legitimate anyway, because they hate the Electoral College. So
exactly, and Russia meddling.
Yes,
it was illegitimate.
And Russia meddling.
So the funny thing is this, and I'll say it again. This decision was so legally obvious. Again, even with the way our justice system is stacked against conservatives, I knew it was going to be 9-0. Even some popular figures on the left had to begrudgingly agree with the ruling. And so one example I'm going to show here is, our favorite, cackling gaggle of hens on The View. Even Whoopi Goldberg, there were practically tears streaming down her face. She was so sad. But she kind of begrudgingly admitted it was the right decision. So let's see what she has to say about this decision.
I'll try and watch this.
The thing that bothers me about this, and I know it's probably the right decision, but I don't like that we've normalized this man.
Yeah.
It has really irritated the poo out of me.
Yeah.
That we have normalized him and his bad behavior. I get that the law says, listen, it would be really rough and it should be the Congress that makes these decisions. And yet that's not how we've been acting. We keep saying states' laws, we keep giving people the right to make these changes, and then they make a change and they say, well, we don't want this. And everybody says, well, no, of course we shouldn't want this. But the problem is, why have we normalized it?
What part of his behavior is she concerned about? Is it the cheating on his wife? Because Bill Clinton normalized that. Is it being a lech? Because Bill Clinton, JFK, LBJ, Biden, Biden wasn't there. Biden was in the Senate. They all normalized him being a lech. I'm sorry. What part of his behavior is she so offended by that she is absolutely supported every time the Democrats have done it? I always go back to, you elected Ted Kennedy for 4 decades and he killed a woman. So what is it that Trump has normalized that you're so offended by? Ugh.
Also, here's the thing. Even if you hate Trump's guts, and I've said this so many times, the question is only, can a state disenfranchise the voters of a whole country and kick somebody off the bat? That's all this case was answering.
Yeah,
you
that's all that
can
matters.
retain all of your TDS and hate Trump's guts, and you can retain every single negative opinion you have about Trump. and still realize this is true. There's no normalization going on. This is just this is about the law.
Yeah.
This is the law.
That's it.
That's
Yeah.
it.
But what behavior is she claiming that he's normalized? That they act like Trump is some weird alien. I'm like, have you seen other politicians? There's a lot of horrible people.
Well, here's the thing. I don't hear conservatives or even MAGA conservatives saying, I want my kid to grow up and act like Trump and cheat on his wife and give hush money payments to a porn star. I don't hear conservatives saying that's good behavior that we have to normalize and look up to. We're just saying it doesn't mean he's not a legitimate president because he did those things.
Right.
That's it. That's
right.
all.
And it's never meant anybody wasn't a legitimate president for doing those
exactly.
things.
I don't want. I mean, here's the thing. I think Trump's a good president, and I'm going to vote for him happily. But I don't want I wouldn't want my kid to act like Trump in every way. I mean, I'm perfectly fine saying that.
This is what I don't understand. Why are people looking to? This is what happens when people shun religion. I'm talking to you, no, but they look to. Why are you looking to Washington D.C. for moral leadership?
It's the last place
Are
you should
you
look.
kidding me? There's not a person up there that I consider a moral leader. I don't trust any of them. Why are you looking to D.C. for more? I want them to lead the country. That's what I want. I want everyone to have jobs. I want interest rates to be lower so people can buy houses. I want us to be safe and not on the verge of World War III. Would I like somebody who had some moral standing and conviction to do that? Sure. But I don't look to Washington to be the moral leaders of this country. What is wrong with these people? I don't understand. They're politicians. Politicians score on a scale of being psychopaths. What do you expect from them? I mean, give me a break.
No, you're totally right. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was actually talking to my mother about this relatively recently. I think, isn't the first president who was known to be divorced, was it Reagan?
I think so. I think he was our first divorced president. Yeah, he was divorced from Jane Wyman.
I mean, even before that, we had JFK, who was a sleaze bucket back in the 60s.
FDR had a mistress.
Yeah. And Woodrow Wilson was a KKK member. So,
he loved the Klan. He thought they were the savior of mankind.
I would argue we normalized stuff that was a lot worse a lot longer ago.
Warren G. Harding, who was a Republican, had a child with a 16-year-old. His pregnant 16-year-old girlfriend, victim, traveled with him on the campaign trail. So, I mean, and people, and then you had FDR had a mistress. LBJ used to have his secretaries model bikinis for him and only told them to hire women who had big butts. So, I don't get where they've become. I mean, and that's wrong. I would love, but again, I don't look to Washington for moral leadership.
But Terry, you're not understanding. None of their names were Trump.
Oh, okay.
That's what makes it different.
Okay.
That's what makes it different.
Okay.
So,
my bad.
So speaking of threats to democracy, because we hear this, I feel like the word threat to democracy, it's become this overused buzzword, just like, racist, bigot. So what does that mean, a threat to democracy? So, but meanwhile, it's clear when watching propaganda networks like MSNBC, one of the biggest threats to democracy is Christian nationalism, because, and I'm about to play this clip, Christian nationalists, they have the audacity to believe that our rights are inalienable and we are endowed by our Creator.
Groups that you should get very schooled on, because they have a lot of power in Trump's circle. And the one thing that unites all of them, because there's many different groups orbiting Trump, but the thing that unites them as Christian nationalists, not Christians, by the way, because Christian nationalists is very different, is that they believe that our rights as Americans, as all human beings, don't come from any earthly authority. They don't come from Congress. They don't come from the Supreme Court. They come from God. The problem with that is that they are determining men are determining what God is telling them. And in the past, that so-called natural law is, it's a pillar of Catholicism. Catholicism, for instance, it's been used for good in social justice campaigns.
Right.
Martin Luther King evoked it in talking about civil rights. But now you have an extremist element of conservative Christians who say that this applies specifically to issues including abortion, gay marriage, and it's going much further than that.
Oh, wow. So
Okay.
believing that our rights are inalienable and from God is now extremist radicalism.
Extremist radicalism. So, Terry, do you want to remind us what our Declaration of Independence
Yeah,
says?
see what I have here?
Let's talk
My
about
handy
it.
dandy, let's see, let's go right here to the Declaration of Independence, and it says, in the course of human events, we all know this part, blah, 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 we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights.
Wait, Terry, I thought the left says it's only white Christian men. Does it say that in there?
We hope that all men. No, it says
men.
all men.
Are you telling me? Are you telling me that the woke blue-haired gender studies professor I had lied? Is that what you're
Yes.
telling me?
Yes, I am.
This is a travesty. I can't believe it.
And all of those men being created equal, they're endowed by their Creator. Now, I did have an idiot on TikTok tell me that was my mom, and I said, well, that's hilarious that we would all have different rights. This is what people, I think they get it, maybe not. But again, this always goes back, and this is why our founding fathers believed our rights were inalienable and came from God and put it, is that because they understood that if the government can give you your rights, the government can take away your rights.
Exactly.
And what it transcends that and says, it doesn't, if your government gets corrupt, if they violate your rights, then you can overthrow them because these rights are inalienable and you have a right to defend them. And people like this don't get how scary, they think Christian nationalism is scary. When do you tell men you can decide what rights are?
Here's the other thing I'd say. They get so mad when, quote unquote, men take away the right to kill your child through abortion, right? They get very upset about that.
Yes,
But-
very upset.
But according to them, that should be perfectly fine because it's the role of government to give and take away rights anyway, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
why are we complaining when we lose the right to cut off our genitals to transform into the other gender or to have an abortion? If government's role is to give and take away rights as it pleases, and they don't come from a higher power, why is there any controversy about those rights?
Exactly. But here's the thing. They're not even saying, they don't even acknowledge, and this is in that we govern ourselves, right? They are saying the government governs us and decides what we should have.
Yep.
And then they're worried about a threat to democracy. You are literally saying the people have no say. The government should make these decisions for us, not the citizens. And so the fact that citizens should be silent, I don't think they know what democracy is. You're literally talking about silencing citizens and giving men power. What if they decide to take away our right to vote? I mean that.
Here's what I had to say. Officially, I'm an agnostic, even though I'm very open to religion at this point. But in an official capacity, I'm agnostic.
You're going to hell. Yeah.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Even though I'm an agnostic, I hope our rights are secured and given by God. I want that to be true. Because like you said, otherwise, what's stopping Joe Biden and his radical DOJ from taking my rights away?
Yeah.
I think I want that to be true. And she's saying, and she's talking about the specific belief in inalienable rights in our declaration. But what she's really saying, and this is what's more insidious about what her comments are, is only quote unquote Christian nationalists believe in our founding ideals. It's broader than just the statement she said. She's implying that
And that's extremist.
Exactly.
To believe in our founding ideals is extremist.
Exactly. It's extreme. It's extremism, and not just extremism. It's a form of dangerous extremism because that's how they view Christian nationalists. It's this dangerous extreme ideology that we have to expel and drive back into the shadows. And so only undesirable, as Hillary Clinton might say, deplorable people, only deplorable extremist people have the gall to believe in our founding ideals.
Well, and it's also the thing of when she mentioned abortion, and I don't even address the gay marriage thing because there's no laws. Nobody's introducing anything to ban gay marriage.
Yeah, Republicans
right?
just voted to codify gay marriage last
Right.
year, so I don't see that going the other way.
By the majority, yeah. So I don't even address that. That's something. Yeah. But with the abortion thing, it is the assumption that you are right. There's no debate. This is, the idea that human life has value or sanctity or that you can see it differently is you oppressing people, not you having a different viewpoint.
Yep.
And what amazes people, well, you shouldn't be allowed to vote that way. Okay, well, I could say the same thing, right? I truly believe that you are violating human rights when you end the life of an unborn child. You should not be able to vote your convictions that that's not true. And that's the thing. Christian nationalists, the extremists, are the ones being told you cannot vote your convictions, but our founding principles are exactly that.
Yep.
They're exactly that. I don't expect an atheist to vote my convictions, but for some reason I'm getting that I should vote theirs.
I guess what I don't understand is she implying that conservative Christians in 2024 just invented the idea of natural rights and never existed before, and all of a sudden we thought it up? Like you, Terry, you're a conservative Christian. You just were writing down, doodling some ideas in a notebook one day, and you thought,
yes.
I have the...
I'm sorry, it was me. I did it.
You're like, I have the crazy... I just have a kooky idea that our rights are bigger than government, and they come from something...
You know what? They didn't come up with it.
So you wrote down in this notebook, and then somebody leaked it, and it got out to the press, and now, thanks a lot, Terry. We're getting a bad rap. We're all getting a bad.
I started the extremist Christian nationalism. How many centuries ago?
Because of people like you, MSNBC hates me. I'm sick of it.
What cracks me up is they are terrified of Christian nationalism, but they are not afraid of Islamic nationalism.
By the way, check out our other podcast discussion on...
Yes, on this. We go in depth. But they are not at all afraid. And here's the thing. I don't know... I've heard one or two Christians in my life, but I don't know many Christians who... I don't know any right now, who want a theocracy, who think that the government should be based on religion or any... I don't know anyone like that who wants to shove religion down people's throats. That is not the case with, and you should check out our last podcast. Was it 2 podcasts ago, or it was a 2-parter, where that's literally what Islam does in every country they're in, and yet they have no concern about that, none. And so it amazes me the hypocrisy and the refuse to acknowledge. And also, I always go back to the hypocrisy of Christian nationalism is dangerous. And somehow green nationalism is not, right? Nationalism is defined as by doing what is best for your country at the expense of others. I'm not sure how Christian nationalism destroys other countries. I'm sure this woman has some idea. But green nationalism, and this Green Deal that they want to push through, is destroying other countries. This is causing problems in the Congo. The demand is causing child labor, slavery, pollution, a genocide in the Congo. It's causing the same things in South America. We are literally destroying other continents so that we can push forward this green agenda quickly. That is literally nationalism, to make America better and less harsh on the environment, better for the environment, at the expense of poorer nations. They literally practice nationalism, and that they're not concerned about at all.
Exactly.
So the hypocrisy is, it's astounding.
Of course not.
It really is. And ignorant.
Absolutely true.
Heidi can suck it. No. I don't like her.
So Heidi, she faced some pretty severe backlash after these comments, as she should, and she issued an apology, quote unquote apology. I'll put the air quotes around it. So as you know, I think there's a tendency. Let me show you the apology, then we can talk about what we think. Politico reporter apologizes for, quote, clumsy words about Christian nationalists.
I thought she was very well spoken.
Me too. Yeah, if there's one thing she was very eloquent and confident in what she was saying. She says, "I fell short." And this is something you see a lot of times when people have to issue these and you can tell it's a fake apology because they'll say something really deliberate, really intentional, and then they'll say it was misspeaking, or it just came out that way. It wasn't really what I meant. So
that was rehearsed. She said that with her whole chest, with my whole chest, with your whole chest. She borrowed the guy next to her. She said that with absolute confidence.
Yep.
And that's when you see the bubble of politics in Washington and journalism.
Yep.
Because she really thought everybody will agree with me. And people forget, over 60% of this country still believes in God to some extent. Right? It doesn't mean they go to church, but they believe in God. So when you say and believe that their rights are inalienable, so when you come out and call those people extremists, you're going to get backlash. She sits around the office and says this crap, and everybody tells her she's brilliant.
Exactly.
She was stunned that people were, wait, what? Everybody doesn't think they're extreme radicals? What? Oh, yeah. So
exactly. And meanwhile, I don't know if you saw. Speaking of this utter disdain for us by legacy media, did you happen to see the two guys who wrote the book White Rural Rage on MSNBC?
No.
Oh, you got to see it. I'm going to add an impromptu topic.
Okay.
To this.
I want to see this. Let me. Yes.
Yes.
I did see the guy who said that all white people are psychopaths.
It might have been the same. I'm not sure if it's the same guy. Okay. But I got to show you this clip. This is on MSNBC. These two guys, they wrote a book called White Rural Rage.
Okay.
And here it is.
Okay.
Entitled White Rural Rage, the Threat to American Democracy. And Tom, we'll start with you. Why are white rural voters a threat to democracy at this point? You would think, as we pointed out, looking at Joe Biden's background and Donald Trump's, that the opposite would be true.
I mean, we lay out the fourfold interconnected threat that white rural voters pose to the country. First of all, and we show 30 polls and national studies to demonstrate this. We provide the receipts in Chapter 6. They're the most racist, xenophobic, anti-immigrant, and anti-gay geodemographic group in the country. Second, they're the most conspiracist group. QAnon support and subscribers, election denialism, COVID denialism and scientific skepticism, Obama birtherism. Third, anti-democratic sentiments. They don't believe in an independent press, free speech. They're most likely to say the president should be able to act unilaterally without any checks from Congress or the courts or the bureaucracy. They're also the most strongly white nationalist and white Christian nationalists. And fourth, they are most likely to excuse or justify violence as an acceptable alternative to peaceful public discourse.
So you mentioned a lot of negative factors about this demographic. Tom, what else do they have in common?
I think that what really matters at
what
this
makes
point
them
in time.
vulnerable?
Oh, well, a lot of that has to do with, as a starting point, the problems that rural America has, which are very real and very profound. Mm-hmm. They have the more problematic education systems. They have poor infrastructure. They've had a lack of economic opportunity. We've seen a lot of manufacturing jobs leave from rural areas. And that.
Okay. So, there you have it. I want you to just take that in for a moment and let me know what you think.
Okay. Oh, wow. There's a lot to break down there from those two clowns. So, first of all, let's just start. I knew they were going to go to education, right? So it just came out.
Well, education and income. These poor, distasteful people.
Yes. So here's the thing. California is now the #1 state with the least amount of high school graduates. And they also have the highest rate of illiteracy. And California is not really considered a rural state.
Nope.
Right? When they're talking about rural, they're talking about flyover country.
Yep.
right?
Exactly.
Right. Also, I would point out that 9 of the top 10 states for hate crime are all Democrat states. So he's assuming that, all the hate crime and all of that happens in rural areas. And that's per person, but you have to consider it's spread out. But 9 of the top 10 states for hate crime, regardless of the type of hate crime, they're all Democrat states. And they're on Washington, California, D.C., New York. Those are states where you're finding hate. Those are not rural area states.
Well, here's the funny thing about this, and I would say those authors and the anchor moderating this segment, I'm going to use a strong word. I think they're all insane. And I'm saying that not as a joke. I'm saying that in a serious way. And the reason I say that is because insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? Mm-hmm. What got Donald Trump elected? This horrible threat to democracy that everybody hates, Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump was elected because the Democratic Party and the establishment Republican Party completely neglected this demographic. Yes. Working class America, flyover country, left them in the dust, both in policy and rhetorically.
Yes.
So you had this...
Their disdain for the American people, and I'm not saying that people on the coast or in Democrat are not American people, but flyover country.
It's America too. It's America as well.
And the disdain for people in those states is palpable.
Yes, and so
they are disgusted by those citizens.
And so the reason I say it's insanity is because they're saying Trump is the worst thing to ever happen to America, yet it was because of comments like that and sentiment like that that got Trump elected, and now they're saying, oh, Trump's going to come, he's trying to get back in the White House, he's this threat. But they're feeding the exact sentiment that fueled his base to begin with. So that's why I use the word insane. I don't mean that in a funny way. I mean that as in a literal way. So I look at that, and I'm also mind-boggled at how unsubtle it was. We've seen, Chris Matthews on that other interview kind of subtly dig at rural voters and people who don't seem to know what's in their best interest. But he was a little more subtle. I mean, to us it seemed really obvious, but he was a little more subtle in how it was worded. They're flat out saying white people suck and we should hate them. That's literally what they're saying. Rural people, rural white people.
And again,
because you know why? Because the white person with blue hair who says they're non-binary, posting about how great Planned Parenthood is, that white person's fine because they're a hipster from New York or Philadelphia. Yes. So they're fine. They're a good white, right?
They're one of the good ones.
These are the bad whites.
Well, and the thing is, it goes back to these people who won't do what we want are a threat to democracy.
Yep.
These citizens that we think are beneath us, that we look down on, who believe in some silly god, are beneath us. Here's the biggest bunch of BS in the whole comment. They are more likely to use violence to resolve things. I'm sorry, I don't think it was rural Americans out in 2020 during the BLM riots, taking over police stations, burning down city blocks, killing or attacking police officers and killing citizens. That was not rural America who did that. You want to point to January 6th? I don't even know how many of those people were rural Americans, but they did not go out and destroy cities and burn things down and kill other citizens. And Antifa they're not from rural America either. The most violent things that have happened, these mass protests that became violent, Antifa, they're not from rural America. You can't point to groups in rural America that are going out and committing causing these riots and destroying things. That's absurd. For him to say that is such BS.
Well, I mean, the other thing I don't understand is they're also saying other variables like anti-gay. I mean, like one of the predominant Catholic demographics in the United States are South American immigrants, specifically from
Yes.
South America and Mexico. They're very Catholic. They're usually, even if they're voting Democrat for other
They're
reasons,
against
they're
abortion.
usually socially conservative, or at least somewhat socially conservative.
Yes.
So to say just as a whole, and also they define, we've talked about before how anti-gay is anything except going out of your way to affirm loudly everything that has to do with LGBT. You're anti-gay if you don't do that.
Right.
So what does anti-gay even mean? The other thing they talk about is COVID denialism.
Yes.
Just because maybe some people don't want to comply with mandated medical.
But the sign, it has come out now that the sign, I mean, Columbia, I think it was Columbia University, but it was an Ivy League college, did study after study after study, and came out and said, masks don't do crap to prevent COVID. The mask thing is a joke. It doesn't, that's from an Ivy League anti-Semitic
Well,
leftist university.
Dr. Fauci even admitted that the 6 feet rule was very arbitrary.
Yes.
And it was just a guess of what would work, and it wasn't based on science.
And have the headlines not come out and said COVID is basically the flu? I mean, that's what's coming out now is, well, we're going to treat it like the flu. And so this goes back to...
you know what I also think? Sorry, before you move on. I think if people were honest at the beginning about what COVID was and issued even some of the same guidelines that they ended up mandating, but people had more trust in their government, you would have seen much more voluntary compliance with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. The one thing I will point out is in Florida, where there was no vaccine mandate, their vaccination rate, which is all voluntary because it wasn't mandated, exceeded the national average. Because when people feel they have a choice about something, they're more likely to do it than if they're feeling forced under duress. Nobody wants to do something because somebody's holding a gun to their head and forcing them. So a lot of these people may just have an issue with that, but they're being labeled as COVID deniers, whatever that means.
Well, yeah, and they're not denying. This is my thing. It is one of the most American things, one of the most patriotic things to go, why is the government making me do that?
Yeah.
I'm not doing what the government. That is patriotism. That in yard sales. I feel like yard sales is one of the most American things in the world. It's pure capitalism. I love it. The other one is going, wait, the government says I have to do it? Oh, I'm not doing that. That is a true patriot there. Now, I'm not saying the government's always wrong. I'm just saying that part of the American culture, part of our founding fathers was don't trust the government.
Exactly.
Don't trust them. And so I think that there is a healthy respect for, or a healthy distrust of the government among rural voters. And also, think of the thing they're measuring. These people won't do what the government says, and that's why they're a threat to democracy. That's what democracy is not having to do what your government says. Again, I don't think these people know what democracy is. I don't think they get it. Because these people are a threat to the government. The conversation is the government a threat to us? Right? They've shifted the whole thing. That is incredibly ignorant, incredibly bigoted.
I thought you'd like it.
Super elitist.
The only reason I didn't put it in sooner was I was watching Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, and Ben Shapiro the last 2 days.
The triple threat of Christian nationalism. Oh wait, Ben Shapiro.
Well, he's evil because he's Jewish, according to the left, right? But if you put them, they all did segments on this, and I was like, man, I love what they had to say. There's a lot I have to say about this too, but it's been talked about already. But then I thought, we're talking about the Christian nationalism on MSNBC. We have to also talk about this. So
it's so elitist. It is so the disdain that these people have for the average American citizen. And that's what rule is. Yep. Rule is your average American citizen is disgusting.
Yep.
It is absolutely reprehensible that you have no respect for the backbone of this country, the citizens who make it work, the ones who are putting in the work, and you don't support manufacturing jobs and helping those things, but your utter disdain because they want to think for themselves is astounding.
And I actually like to thank those two guys, though, because they're helping us in 2024. I really believe that.
For sure.
There's no better ally
in
an election than ridiculous comments like that from the other side.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
so thank you guys. I appreciate. I really mean that genuinely. They're helping us.
Yeah. Look, I grew up in a rural area. I live in a rural area now.
So are they expecting you to just go, wait a minute? I think I'm a racist, xenophobic, bigoted moron, and I should just change my whole worldview.
Yes, I should just. Oh, okay, yeah, And what I love is they throw these words out without examples, right? It's they're xenophobic. Every person I know and run into loves to travel, has traveled places, has lived in other places of the world. This is what's astounding.
Well, remember, xenophobia just means you don't support totally open borders with mass unregulated migration. That's xenophobia.
To them.
To them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. To them. And so, again, it's just, that is such elitist garbage and patently false.
You're welcome. I thought you'd love it. Love it.
Yeah, I would love to punch one of them in the throat. Oh, look at me solving things with violence. How typical.
So we've talked about a lot. I want to end on something that I think this will give us a little bit of a laugh too. We've had a kind of a laugh-filled night here.
Yes.
Speaking of just things that can't be trusted, does everyone remember how everybody had to make a pledge in the first debate, the RNC pledge, to support the eventual nominee for the Republican Party?
Yes.
And everybody, and they all criticized. I remember how everybody in the Republican establishment criticized Trump for not doing that in 2015, and also for not signing the pledge to do it, not just in 2015, but he didn't want to sign the pledge to do it now, and that's why he didn't qualify for the first debates, and everybody ripped on him there too, right?
You know what? I don't need that. I'm fine with that. I think if you're a Republican and you truly believe the nominee is wrong, then you should be able to say that. I don't
think I have an issue with the RNC pledge itself.
Yes.
And I think that's what you're getting at too. But what I also have an issue at is when people make a pledge and then lie. So
that's worse. Then I don't like. Don't make the pledge.
Don't make the pledge.
Do what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see what Nikki Haley has to say, because she made the pledge.
She's still running for president. Is she still here?
So
Nikki Haley is like the guest. It's like 2 a.m. after a dinner party, and you're like, oh, well, the wife and I got to get to bed. Oh, okay, one more drink. That's her. Like, she just, can you leave now?
Exactly. So here's what Nikki Haley had to say about this pledge that she very, very enthusiastically signed on for at the beginning of the race.
Did sign a pledge, an RNC pledge, to support the eventual nominee. Do you still feel bound by that pledge?
I have always said that I have serious concerns about Donald Trump. I have even more concerns about Joe Biden.
So is that a no? Are you bound by the RNC pledge?
The RNC pledge, I mean, at the time of the debate, we had to take it to where, would you support the nominee? And you had to, in order to get on that debate stage, you said yes. The RNC is now not the same RNC. Now it's
so you're no
Trump's
longer bound
daughter-in-law.
by that pledge.
No, I think I'll make what decision I want to make, but that's not something I'm thinking about. And I think that while y'all think about that, I'm looking at the fact that we had thousands of people in Virginia. We're headed to North Carolina. We're going to continue to go to Vermont and Maine and all these states to go and show people that there is a path forward. And so I don't look at what ifs. I look at how do we continue the conversation.
First of all, this was recorded before Super Tuesday began. It's Super Tuesday. It's Super Tuesday now, and I just want to say all those states she's listed, she's losing in. So that's number one.
I'm going to say this. Ooh, Nikki Haley, you a damn lie. Okay?
And here's what I'll also say.
There's some rule for you.
And I'll say this too. Nikki Haley, to me, sounds like Hillary Clinton. The way she answers questions. It's the very politician-y, evasive answers that people hate about Washington.
Well, I did what I had to get on stage.
Well, she's basically admitting. Actually, I will give her the credit. She's basically admitting I lied to get on stage because it was advantageous to me. That's essentially what she's saying. Mm-hmm. So I almost have to give her some credit for just basically saying that.
But if you're willing to do whatever you have to do, that makes me very uncomfortable with you as a president, right? Because I would respect her more if she'd have said, I don't agree with this pledge. I want to be on the debate stage, but I'm not going to be blackmailed into doing something. Because if she would do that on something so simple, then what is she going to do when she becomes president?
Also, here's the
You know?
other thing. Joe Biden is such a bad president that even if you think Trump is the worst option for the Republicans, it shouldn't be hard to say that his policy is going to be better than Biden. So you don't even have to. You can give a very tepid endorsement. You don't have to. You don't have to be, wow, I'm going to get all my Trump merch, rah rah rah, and campaign with him. It's just, indicate that you're going to vote for him and support him once he's the nominee. Just for the optics of party unity. It's not that big a deal. And here's the other thing. She is.
You only get one vote, Nikki. You only get one vote. You're not going to change the election. So
And here's the other thing. I believe that Nikki will vote for Trump.
Yeah, I think she will.
I think she's not going to say that she did. I think that's another question.
If she wants a future in politics in the Republican Party, she will say that she did.
And she's trying, and I have a feeling she's going to try again in 28. I just have a feeling. It's the hunch. You don't think?
No, I think she'll try.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I said. She'll try. But if she wants to even get 1/10 of the way that she did this time, she will have had to have supported Trump.
Yes.
Whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, she will have had to.
What I'm hoping is either Tulsi Gabbard, who I love, who is really an independent, is vice president. I would love that. She said she's open to it. I would love for her to run in 28. I would 100% support her. I like the congresswoman from New York, who I can't remember her name.
Yeah, Elise Stefanik. Yep.
Yeah, love her. But yeah, either one of them. I also like Byron Donalds.
Byron Donalds. How could you forget the name of your crush, Terry? I'm surprised at you.
I am too. This is probably why he and I aren't together ever.
By the way, I would even vote. I love some strong governors who aren't totally corrupted by DC. I would vote for Noam in 28. Yep. I would even vote. Here's the thing. There's something I like about Sarah Huckabee Sanders too.
Yeah.
I'd vote for her. I love some good, strong executives who have gotten through a conservative agenda before that we can say, hey, this is their track record. So either any one of those former Congress people or current Congress people or good, uncorrupted governors, I'd be down. I think we're going to have.
I would vote for DeSantis. I'm going to go back to DeSantis does not have the charisma to get elected. He just doesn't. And I think his policies have been good for Florida, but unfortunately, politics is so emotional for people. For some, it's very hard for them to just look at what is working, right? And they're so on, he bans books and he does that, he hates gaming, that, they're not going to hear it. But I think DeSantis probably would be a good president. Yeah. But I just don't think he has the charisma to win.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think I'm interested to see who the vice president is going to be. I know I have my fingers crossed on a few people. Honestly, number one, Tulsi Gabbard. She's my number one pick for VP.
I have a question before we sign off here. Do you think that Tulsi Gabbard will become a Republican formally, or do you think she's going to stay independent?
I think she may stay independent, and I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with you. I think really at her core, especially recently, I think she is fairly conservative. Did you know she actually went to, she co-hosted a march to end trans surgeries for minors with Matt Walsh. I don't know if you know that.
No, I didn't.
Matt Walsh hosted this march to end child mutilation, and it was about trans surgery, and she spoke with him and whipped up and it was like really cool. And I remember I was shocked at the time because it was when she had first left the Democratic Party, and I wasn't really looking at her as necessarily. I knew she was kind of an anti-establishment independent, but I wasn't really looking at her as a conservative ally at the time. And then I saw her do that, and I was like really impressed that she's sticking her head into the winds of the culture war in a way that's really, really indicative of what side she's on. That's not a neutral side.
Well, we heard her at ZPAC, and I love her.
Yeah,
I just think she's great.
Exactly, and she's I don't know if you know a lot about her, but she's actually quite religious too. She's a service member. I think her family's in the military too, so she's very pro-military, very patriotic.
Oh no, I looked her up. I'd
Yeah.
heard of her. I looked her up at CPAC and and I was like, I really respected like her.
And you
I
can
really,
tell, that she's for the people.
Yes.
Absolutely, and that her love for America is pure and genuine. And I will say, regarding party registration, I would love her, if she's Trump's VP, I would love her to stay as an independent, because
Me too.
I think optically it would be
Yeah.
really freaking cool to have,
Yes.
Trump, the MAGA base of, the Republican MAGA president, and then have what would optically be a little bit of nonpartisanship in the White House, not just as a cabinet member, but in the White House itself. And I think that would be cool.
She said, I guess the people have talked about it because she said she's open to being run, and I know all those conversations are going on behind the scenes. I do want to point out real quick.
Yep.
One of the things when we talked about how we've seen how condescending the left is on the media, the liberals. And I will say, when we went to CPAC, I did not experience that from any of the speakers there. Right? I didn't, and not even on, well, they made fun of liberals because it's easy to do. There was no disdain or contempt or hatred for liberals there. The way that, they're destroying democracy and they're,
because
they're.
all the disdain was aimed at fake news
Policy.
media, and they deserve it, and
Yes.
politicians. It was government bureaucrats and lying media. And those are two
Yes.
groups that willfully hurt people.
Yes.
There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yes.
You didn't hear, let's mock these trans people. What we did hear was, let's tackle this ideology that's hurting people by deceiving them. And of course, we had that panel about the trans surgery for minors, but it was all about combating the ideas that are hurting people, both on the left and the right. And that's what it was about. But the disdain, any anger that there was against government bureaucrats and the media.
Yeah,
And
it was not about. It was very uplifting and focused on what's best for the American people, which you can disagree on, right? That's to be expected. But this thing of the people speaking, the people voting, the people amending the Constitution is a threat to democracy is hilarious because that's literally what democracy is. Sometimes you don't get what you want.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole point of democracy is that it's not always going to be the outcome you want. And I can't believe and I guess what boggles my mind, especially about the white rural rage stuff, is how can you go on TV and say I hate a specific race? I mean, what have we come to? Are we back in Jim Crow? But it's like the reverse now. It's like you could just go on TV and say I hate white people. When did it become acceptable to do that?
Yeah,
it's like
the guy in California, who came out, he was a professor and said, white people are sociopaths, all of us. And I was like, no, that's not how sociopaths. That's no.
Well, good thing I'm Asian, so I'm safe, I guess.
You're Italian.
That's true.
We decided you were Italian, but you are a white supremacist
That's
no
true.
matter what.
That's
You're
true.
yeah. So
anyway, guys, we're at the end of our show. I hope you enjoyed the discussion. We had a lot of laughs tonight, and we'll be back next week with some more. So thank you for watching.
Yes, let's talk about the meltdown from Super Tuesday that's going to happen, and hopefully we'll have another SCOTUS ruling, and I'm sure there's some other things that will melt down. But I can't wait for the Super Tuesday meltdown. And I want to see where Nikki Haley is. Again, she is the guest that will not leave a dinner party. I mean, eventually she's going to be like, I need you to go.
And I didn't mind her at the beginning. But she's the guest that wore out her welcome for sure.
I liked her in the first debate. I really did. When I stopped liking her was when she got so shrieky and shrill with Vivek. And I was just like, what are you doing? Don't let him get to you. I mean, you're going to be dealing with world leaders and this kid. I mean, and I like Vivek, but you're letting this kid upset. Come on.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's so. And I feel like that Nikki has a little bit of contempt for some American people. Yeah. I do.
Oh yeah.
I get that for her, and I don't like it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't by any means view her as an enemy of conservatism,
no.
But it's not her time.
No.
I don't think it'll be her time again.
No.
And just be graceful about it and bow out. That's all.
Yeah, just leave. We have to go to work tomorrow. No, you cannot have another martini. Get out. There's no dessert left. Go home. Go.
Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for listening.
All right. Are we done?
And we'll see you next time.
All right. See you next week. Have a great day. Week.